Hello everyone, I'm Yazan Ibrahim, or as some of you might know me, Yazan Abu Ghosh. Today we're going to dive into a fascinating and essential topic, Fraud Examiners, Section 2 Law 2.0 Introduction. Today's deep dive into the world of law. Whether you're an aspiring fraud investigator, a business owner, or simply curious about how organizations manage their finances, or if you are auditor, this journey will shed light on the often complex systems that drive decision making. Welcome to part 2 of the Certified Fraud Examiner CFE course. In this section of the Certified Fraud Examiner CFE program, we will delve deeper into the legal elements of fraud. This course segment is designed to help us understand the complexities of fraud from a legal standpoint, preparing us to handle these issues effectively in real-world scenarios. You will learn a key legal terminology, essential jargon and concepts frequently encountered in fraud examinations, fraud and the law, understanding how laws define fraud and the processes involved in investigating and prosecuting it. Civil versus criminal law, how fraud cases are handled differently depending on whether they fall under criminal or civil jurisdictions. Bankruptcy fraud, identifying and investigating fraudulent actions during bankruptcy proceedings. Securities fraud, examining how fraud impacts the financial markets and the laws that regulate such activities. Money laundering, understanding how illicit funds are laundered, the stages of this process, and the laws designed to combat it. Tax fraud, a closer look at how individuals or corporations evade taxes and the consequences of such actions. Basic legal provisions for fraud examiners, recognizing individuals' rights, privileges, and protections during an investigation. Testifying and presenting evidence, learning to present investigative findings in court effectively. By the end of part 2, you'll have a solid understanding of the legal framework around fraud and the strategies used to detect, investigate, and resolve these cases while adhering to appropriate legal standards. The legal framework for fraud. The legal system is the backbone of any society, providing structure and fairness through laws and regulations. When it comes to fraud, the system ensures that wrongdoers are held accountable while victims are protected. As fraud examiners, one of our key roles is to understand how these laws function and apply them effectively in our investigations. Civil versus criminal fraud, understanding the difference. Fraud cases are primarily categorized into civil or criminal law. Civil fraud. Civil fraud focuses on restitution and recovering damages for a loss suffered by an individual or business. For example, if one business partner misappropriates the company's funds, civil action aims to provide remedies like monetary compensation. Criminal fraud. In contrast, criminal fraud addresses actions that are considered offenses against society, such as embezzlement or securities fraud. A criminal conviction often involves penalties like imprisonment or hefty fines. In many cases, the same fraud act may lead to both civil and criminal proceedings. For instance, an employer may sue an employee to recover stolen funds, civil case, while law enforcement prosecutes that individual for a criminal offense. Bankruptcy fraud. Manipulating the system. Bankruptcy fraud occurs when individuals or businesses manipulate bankruptcy laws for personal gain. For example, 1. Concealing assets during bankruptcy proceedings. 2. Filing multiple bankruptcy claims to exploit legal loopholes. 3. Intentionally overstating debts to avoid paying creditors. Fraud examiners play a key role in investigating bankruptcy cases by analyzing complex financial records and identifying irregularities. It's a delicate process that requires attention to detail while respecting legal rights and ensuring fairness. Securities fraud, undermining trust in the financial markets. The securities industry is built on trust and transparency. Securities fraud violates this trust through actions like manipulating stock prices, insider trading, or misrepresenting a company's health. One classic example is the Ponzi scheme, where fraudsters use money from newer investors to pay returns to earlier ones, creating a facade of legitimacy. Laws governing securities fraud are complex and require specialized knowledge to investigate thoroughly. Fraud examiners must understand stock market operations and financial regulations to identify violations effectively. Money laundering, cleaning, illicit money. Money laundering is the process of concealing the source of illegally obtained funds. It involves 3 stages. 1. Placement, introducing illicit funds into the economy. 2. Layering, obscuring the money's origin through complex transactions. 3. Integration, legitimately reintroducing funds into the financial system. For example, a drug cartel might use shell companies or offshore accounts to launder money gained from illegal drug trafficking. Anti-money laundering laws aim to identify and interrupt these operations, often requiring international cooperation due to the cross-border nature of these crimes. Tax fraud, evading legal obligations. Tax fraud occurs when individuals or businesses intentionally falsify information to avoid paying taxes. Examples include underreporting income, overstating deductions or expenses, claiming false dependents. Fraud examiners investigating tax fraud rely heavily on forensic accounting, uncovering hidden assets or fraudulent financial activities. As with other fraud types, proving intent is critical in these cases to ensure successful prosecution. Legal rights and protections. During fraud investigations and court proceedings, individuals under investigation have specific legal protections that fraud examiners must respect. These include the right to remain silent. Individuals are protected from making self-incriminating statements. Search and seizure protections. Evidence must be obtained legally without violating privacy rights. Due process. All individuals are entitled to fair treatment in legal proceedings. Understanding these rights is vital for fraud examiners to prevent their investigations from being invalidated in court. The art of testifying in court. A fraud examiner's expertise often culminates in the courtroom. Testifying as an expert witness requires not only knowledge of the facts, but also the ability to communicate them effectively to judges, jurors, or others who may lack a financial background. Key skills include speaking clearly and confidently, simplifying complex fraud schemes into understandable language, presenting evidence logically and persuasively. The credibility of your testimony can significantly influence the case outcome. Every word you say in court will reflect your professionalism and the integrity of your investigation. Conclusion. In Part 2 of the CFE course, you'll gain a deeper appreciation of the legal issues surrounding fraud, from understanding its different categories to grasping the nuances of court proceedings. This knowledge is crucial for any professional aspiring to become an effective certified fraud examiner. Fraud laws provide both structure and accountability while safeguarding ethical standards. As we move forward, you'll become well equipped to navigate these challenges, ensuring justice and fairness prevail in all fraud-related cases. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning, stay curious, and we'll see you next video.